So welcome to the show, Anna.
Hi, welcome. Well, welcome to my world, I suppose, is going to be what all you guys will be listening to.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. We're really excited to dive deep into your tech journey and hear all about how you got to where you are today.
Sounds great. Yeah, I look forward to telling you guys all about it.
But before we start, Anna and I were just talking about how we actually know each other outside of codebar.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a shock on your face when I said I know you, but yeah, it was. We were in Slovenia on a kind of a retreat last year in May, I think it was, and I was just saying that my first job offer in tech, I actually got the call when we were out there, and I think we all cheersed it that evening as well.
Yeah, now you say that, I do remember being at dinner and the host saying, "Oh, there's a girl on the other table that just got her first job offer." So yes, I do remember it now you said it, but
yeah,
it was a bit of a shock to me when you said it. But yeah, I suppose it shows that tech is a very small world.
yes, yeah, definitely. I'm definitely finding that. Yeah, lovely.
I love that story. And for those listening, they did start talking about it just before we pressed record. And I said, no, like, let's save this for the podcast. So I interrupted them both and was like, let's save it for when we're recording.
Yeah, it's a great little story.
So I love that. I love that. So yes, Anna, I want to take you actually back to, the start really, and where your tech journey started. What did you do before tech?
So my tech journey's only been about 2 years, I think, probably from the first time I wrote my first line of code, and a lot has happened since then. But before that, I was my last role was an office manager for a recruitment agency, and I delved a lot into payroll, HR, kind of that side, people facing jobs. So totally different now.
And was there a moment when you were doing that work where you thought, oh, I'm going to transition into tech now?
So I was thinking about this before coming on here because I've listened to some of the podcasts, and people are like, I've always kind of been interested in tech and kind of wanted to do it. And my journey, I suppose, is a little bit different in terms that I knew I wasn't happy doing what I was doing. And I think like it all kind of stemmed with sort of some of my mental health and things like that. They were kind of deteriorating a bit, and I was trying to find things what I could do to help me get better. And weirdly, like I'm interested in tech. I use it every day, but I've never really thought about the back end of it. But I was thinking about why I didn't like my current job as an office manager. And I realized it was kind of the way that my brain worked was it was very black and white. And being in HR, having to make decisions about people, that's not black and white. So there's so much gray area, and my mind could not, I wasn't enjoying that side of it. And so I thought, what's the one thing that is kind of black and white? And I thought, coding, let's give that a go. And then write my first line of code, and I was like, that's it. Yeah, that's what I want to do. So yeah, it's a little bit different, as like I've never had this desire to want to do it, but now that I do it, I love it.
And that's totally fine because I think, that's the whole point in this podcast, is to demonstrate that every single person's journey is different. And, you don't have to have this desire, from a young age of, oh, I want to be in tech. Or, some people do have someone who's already in their family that's in tech, so they know it's a career for them. So I think, I think it's really interesting, that we're going to dive deep into your story because actually you don't need to know it from a young age, and that's totally fine. Had you seen code before you then decided, oh, this is this is something I'm going to go into, or were you going into it like having never seen code before?
I've you see it in terms of films, I don't want to say like, all those hacker films, swordfish, a little bit of, oh my God, really getting into it and stuff. That's probably the extent of my knowledge, or was the extent of my knowledge. My brother works in games and does QA testing. So I knew a bit about that, but that was always his thing. So it was never really anything I knew. I wouldn't know how kind of that code got onto the front screen or anything like that. It was all just brand new.
I don't mean to cut you off. Could
No,
you
that's fine.
explain to the listeners what QA is? Because I'm sat there thinking,
yeah.
quality something or other, but I don't
Yeah.
quite know.
Yeah, so it's quality assurance. So he does quality testing on the games. Basically, he has to find bugs before it goes out to you.
So what I'm hearing is he plays the games as like a job.
Pretty much, yeah. And the funniest thing is, and this is probably going off a bit. I always remember when we were younger, and my brother loved video games. Like, we all played it, but he was obsessed with them. And I remember my dad going, "You need to stop playing video games. You need to do your maths homework because you're never going to work in games." And lo and behold, he's working in games. And I was just like, that's brilliant. That's a fantastic story. But yeah, sorry, he plays games, tries to break them. But apart from that, I don't really didn't know much more about code or sort of the tech side of stuff.
I love that. And I think it's also it's a demonstration that actually something you're incredibly passionate about can become your career, because like you
Yeah,
said, from a young age, you can't play games. You're not gonna get paid to play games. Like, that's
yeah,
not gonna help you. And your brother has completely debunked that and gone,
yeah,
well, look at me now, I'm an adult and I basically get paid to play
yeah,
games.
absolutely. Yeah, exactly. And I think I love telling that story to people, just to say, look, just be nice to your kids, because actually they could maybe do what they want to do and love it.
Yeah, I wish I'd known this story like several years ago, because I had a conversation with my nephew a few years back when he said, like, at school you get that question of, what do you want to do for the rest of your life, and the teachers, stereotypically don't encourage, those creative,
Mhm.
creative roles. And I remember asking him the question, take away any aspect of career, but what's the one thing in your life you enjoy doing? And he was 14 at the time, and he said to me, playing games. And that's when I said to him, you can get paid to play games. He went, what?
Yeah.
No, I can't. I actually think I've told this story on the podcast in a previous episode. And he was like, no, I can't. And I went, yeah, you can. That game that you are playing has hundreds of people behind it, the storytellers, the 3D modelers, the coders, the designers, the project managers, and then the testers, the people whose job it is to play it, report the bugs, and that is their job. And he was like, well, my teachers never told me that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Yeah, I think knowledge is such a powerful thing, and I think you need to make sure family, friends, those growing up, that you tell them this. Like, I think that's a really big thing, that whatever you want to do, there'll be something that was likely you're going to be able to get paid for it in some way. So yeah, yeah. Anyway, we digress, I think, but
Yeah, totally. And so then the moment you decided tech was for you,
Mhm,
what did you do then? Because that's quite a big leap to go from office
mhm.
manager to, coder.
Mhm. So yeah, so as I say, it was kind of part of this like mental health crisis, midlife crisis, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. So I basically sold, because had a flat. I sold my flat, I quit my job, and then I moved back in with my mom, which luckily I know a lot of people don't have that sort of don't have that choice or anything. They can't do it. But I was able to take 9 months off, and during that time I learned to code, and it was all just online courses. So I think I just kind of Googled, give me some coding lessons. And I did a couple of courses, started to kind of build some replicas or some clones of some home pages. And yeah, and that's kind of how it all started, really. It was just that. It's just me on my lonesome with a computer.
It's so brave, and I say that, all the time, that I think it's so brave to take that leap, particularly, when you're on your own and you're not, part of a cohort or part of a degree. It was then February 2023 that you attended your first codebar workshop. So how did you hear about us?
So so just to give a bit of a context, I left my job in the previous August, so 2022, and started in October, kind of learning. And as I was learning, I kind of I was wondering how I would get into a job in tech. Like, how do I take that dive? I have some of the knowledge. I'm a little bit impatient, so I'm like, I don't want to wait really a year. I need to start making some money. I don't want to live at home for the rest of my life. And I started to just like try and find some stuff online, and a lot of people are saying networking is so important, building your community, and it was a real struggle to find something local to me. So I was based in Southampton at the time. And whilst there were a few groups, some people said there used to be stuff before COVID, there was nothing that really appealed to me in terms of the kind of community that I was hoping to find, or the experienced coders that I wanted to kind of delve with. I don't know where codebar, the name codebar came from. I think it might have been when I was just on Facebook in one of these kind of groups that had disbanded or weren't very active, and someone had mentioned codebar. And I think Bristol was my first one, which is really quite far. But I don't know why I chose Bristol. But I went to Bristol's one, and that was probably the best decision I think I've ever made, to be fair, because it not only opened up the doors to where I am now, I think it also made me realize that actually I've come quite far in terms of my learning, because I never had anyone to bounce off of. I had no one, like you say, when you're in a cohort or in a boot camp, you've got other people that are learning at the same time as you, and you kind of know where your level's at. I was just, working my way through, sort of building some clone websites. And I was just like, I don't know if this is any good. And I remember sitting with my first coach, feel bad because I don't remember his name, but he was amazing. And he was just so patient and answered all my questions, even ones that weren't about code or like about his journey and what he does. And I came away thinking, oh my God, I can actually do this. And I think that's when I was like, I really need a network. I need to build this community. And being someone who probably isn't very good at social stuff was actually quite a scary thing, but everyone was just so welcoming and made it really easy to kind of make me want to delve in and, well, start Southampton Code Bar.
Oh, I'm very pleased you went to Code Bar. And I just want to touch upon something you said a bit earlier.
Yeah.
And you and I kind of share an experience in that we came to Code Bar and coding more broadly after COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that, you found Code Bar on a group that had kind of tailed off. Do you think things have started to pick back up now? I mean, I know you don't have much to compare it to, and I'm interested to hear Kim's perspective on this. But do you think that in-person events are picking up more? Are we seeing more of them?
I would say yes, just in terms of where I hear people talking about it. Like I'm based sort of Brighton way now, and Brighton was always a massive hub, I think, for meetups and stuff. So I think that the more in-person ones are increasing. But when I spoke to people in Southampton about it, everyone was saying, there's nothing around here now. We want to start again. So I think Code Bar Southampton is having quite a big of an impact in Southampton because of that. So I think yes, but maybe, yeah, maybe Kimberly's got a different view on it.
I totally agree. I think, there was a dip, and I think it's now, I think we're coming out the other side now where maybe people aren't as cautious, and actually people are craving that community again, which, there's so many benefits to virtual events. You can access them from anywhere, if you're a carer, if you've got children, they're perfect. But there is something different about in person, and I think a lot of people, particularly post COVID, are craving that community and in-person connection. I've so many times, when you have like random shower thoughts, and I do think, is it because more people are working from home? So, you don't have those connections like you used to in the office. But yeah, I totally agree. Things are definitely picking up again, which is so nice to see, because community and people is so important for like our well-being and our sanity, and just, yeah, so many elements to
Yeah,
our life that is so important.
yeah, agree, 100%.
You touched on it just a second ago, Cobar Southampton, and this
Mhm.
is just a shout out to you quickly because you're the founder of Cobar Southampton. You did start that chapter. you know, you were going to, like you said, you went to Bristol, you went to a few Brighton, and then, I remember getting that message from you saying, I'm loving Cobar, but the travel is kind of annoying. Like,
Mhm.
is there a possibility that I can start this in Southampton? And I very personally got very, very excited when I got that email from you, because Southampton is my hometown. And I've always waited till there's the day where I can say, like, there is a Code Bar in Southampton. So talk me through that journey, from the moment, attending Code Bar to then going like, I want to start a chapter in my city.
Yeah, so I think you did kind of nail it on the head. Was the travel. It's just the fact that there wasn't anything local that gave the same vibe or the same community as what Code Bar does. I don't think there was anything. I couldn't find anything actually at all. So there wasn't even one where I could maybe, help with building. There wasn't a foundation one in Southampton at all. So I was just like, well, I've got to do it myself. So I did, and when I look back on it, I think, oh my God, like I never ever in a million years would ever have thought that I would have been the driver for something like this, because that just wasn't my personality or anything like that. But for some strange reason, I just had this drive, and I was like, I want people to know, I want to grow it. I want to do it in Southampton as well. And I was doing talks at like a university and like at a military base, and I'm like, I'm going like, what? This is not me. But it was so much fun to be able to kind of give back, and people then to come up going, oh, I'm so inspired. And it's just like, oh my God, maybe I could be a public speaker and all this stuff. But yeah, it was just because I didn't want to travel, basically.
It doesn't matter what the motivation is, you did it. And it's really nice because, I remember getting that first email from you to then, I don't think it was a year later, but I then remember getting that email from you saying, oh, by the way, I'm giving a talk like in Blandford at this
Yeah.
military base. And, we said earlier about a small world, you two being in Slovenia. I happened to be staying in Blandford at the time you were giving a talk. So I remember saying like,
Yeah.
I'm going to come to this military base and see you give a talk. And I remember feeling so proud because,
Oh,
you'd gone from sending me this message and, we met in a coffee shop because I happened to be in Southampton as well, about you starting the chapter, and then watching you give this talk on stage. And you were so confident. And, by this point you were in your first job, which, we will circle back to that. And I think it's a huge testament to you, your personality, and hopefully it will inspire other people, to think, maybe if they're listening and they're not in a quote codebar location, but maybe they're attending virtually and they also want to start a chapter, like, please do get in touch, because it's essentially how every single codebar chapter has started, from someone like you saying, I would like a codebar in my city.
I agree, absolutely. It does wonders for the community, for codebar, and for yourself personally, to be fair. Like, that if you're going to take anything from it, like, it helped me leaps and bounds become more confident, just not as someone that wants to get into tech, but also within myself. And as I say, I wouldn't be here had it not been for that whole journey. And it's so non-tech related in terms that, I'm not writing code. It was all just about my confidence and me as a person, and building those sort of soft skills almost because of it.
So I know you started the chapter whilst you were looking for a job. How did you find that whole process of, because we speak to so many people in the community who do find it really challenging, finding their first job, and it's incredibly hard, it's incredibly competitive. So how did you find that moment in time of trying to find your first job?
Really difficult. So I think I got to a point where I needed to earn money, like a proper salary. I think I was temping at a university library just a few days a week, which was fantastic. Could have done that for, forever, but wasn't paying the bills. And so I think, if I remember correctly, I think I applied to 60 roles. Some of them were, I don't pass half the qualifications, but I was just like, you kept hearing about how females don't apply for jobs they're not like 90 or more percent got the qualifications for. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to apply. What's the worst that can happen? And I think out of those 60, I heard back, oh my God, I think I heard back from like 10 in terms of even rejections. And I think there was like one that wanted an interview. So the percentage is like so small. It was a real hard like time, because not hearing from anyone is worse than hearing a rejection, because you're just like, well, they haven't even looked at my application at all. So, but it does only take one. So, don't let that dissuade anyone. That sounded like really bad statistics, but you just need someone to take sort of a chance or to believe in you.
I completely agree with you, and that's true of many, many areas of life, especially job searching in any industry. So
Yeah.
how did you see, so you got your first job, how did you see it advertised? Is there, again, not really involved in tech. When I was looking for a new job, I started off looking on LinkedIn, and it came up trumps for me. did you see it on LinkedIn? Is there somewhere else that you'd like to give a shout out to for where you saw the job?
I think LinkedIn was some of them, but I really think it was kind of your CV libraries, your Read, or any kind of Indeed. I think that one was maybe an Indeed one that then took you to their website. Never heard of the company before, and again, wasn't really what I was looking for, but it was a foot in the door, and I was very lucky that they almost needed the soft skills that I had in my previous jobs. So I actually didn't have to show them any code or portfolio or anything like that, just to show that I had a willingness to learn, which I think I keep saying I was really lucky, but I need to stop saying that. I need to say actually all my experience up until now has got me the jobs, I was lucky that I didn't have to show any code because I think I was very, I didn't know a lot, but they obviously saw I had the enthusiasm and the soft skills to be able to talk to people and things like that. And, I have to say thank you to them for getting me through that door.
I think it's really worth highlighting that actually, especially when you are transitioning into tech, there are, you're not going to be quote hugely technical because you haven't done anything before. So it's actually where those soft skills, I almost want to use them core skills actually, are
Yeah.
so incredibly important. Like if you are a really good communicator, if you're really good at like working in a team, so many of those skills that you can't teach those skills.
Yeah.
Yes, you can watch talks on good communication and all of that stuff, but like coding, you can teach someone that. Like that's quite, I want to quote like almost easier to teach, but actually those core skills, those soft skills are harder to teach. And actually, you've just demonstrated that actually those are incredibly important when getting your first job, particularly when you are transferring from, a non-technical role, to a technical role. And it's something we talk a lot. I have a lot of conversations with people about their CV, what do I put on my CV? And it's where I really try to say, okay, well, yeah, you've may have worked in retail, but were you managing the shop? Okay, there are so many skills there, if you're a team leader that are transferable. So I think it's really worth highlighting actually what you just said, because it is so important, those core and soft skills.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of times, especially recently, there is a lot of companies who look beyond the skills that they know that they can teach and look at the kind of the core skills that you have. And to be fair, they're probably the companies that you want to work for and not the ones that are like, I need a junior who's got 5 years experience and you're just like, well, how is that even possible? So I think things are slightly changing, but you can't be dissuaded to apply for something if you don't think you have the right qualifications. Not everyone will have a computer science degree, but why should that stop you from applying for the job if you know you can do it? Because worst case, they'll reject you. Best case, you might be able to get an interview with them and then show them who you are as a person, which is the most important thing.
Yeah, totally. So you mentioned, 60 applied, 10 responded. How many interviews did you have during that process?
Oh, just the one.
Just the one. Okay, so
Yeah.
how did you, can you remember how you felt going into that interview?
Oh my
Wow,
God, yeah.
just one.
Just
Yeah.
one, yeah.
Yeah, just one.
At the moment, you've got 100% success rate.
Yeah,
Well,
that is
yeah, I
true.
suppose. Yeah, that's true. That's true. If we don't count the 59 and we just start with that, well, that one application I had. Yeah, no, oh, absolutely. I don't want to say be rude, but I
You
was
can swear
using the
if you want.
toilet a lot.
You can
Like,
swear.
I was shitting my pants. Oh, I remember still like, sort of sitting in the car park, palms just sweaty and like, oh my God, once if they ask me technical stuff and, I know stuff, but I don't know how to say it, I don't know what to show, do I need to bring my laptop? They haven't told me I need to bring my laptop or anything like this, but they obviously were very nice, very, they were able to put me at ease and everything like that. But yeah, like going into it wasn't, I wasn't all like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. It was pretty much, sweaty palms all the way through.
I can only imagine, because some people have like a few technical interviews where they they get rejected, and so I can only imagine what it felt like going into your very first interview. And
Yeah.
then also getting it. I think that's amazing. I was totally expecting you to say like 5.
No, like there was a HR one to make sure I was a person and into it and wanting to. And then yeah,
Yeah.
and then it was I was surprised, to be fair. I didn't think I'd get it because it wasn't really a technical interview. It was a kind of a let's chat, what's your history been, and I think the enthusiasm I had that I just wanted to get into tech probably helped me, and my kind of communication and team leader skills previously helped sort of to get that job. So yeah. So yeah, I still remember crying when I got the call to say, have I got it? I was like, really? Seriously? And then having a little cry and going, oh my God, technically I'm a, yeah, I don't even remember what my job title was. It was like support something. So, but yeah, yeah, it was lovely.
Oh, and how long was that time period? So, like you said, you sold your house, you moved in with your mum, and then, you got that your first job. What time period are we looking at here?
So it was August 2022, and I think I started in May 23. So,
Just
a
under
good,
a year.
yeah, so a good time period to take off. Like those months were exactly what I needed, but it was, yeah, good to get back into the workplace, to be fair.
And did you use any other resources? So you did mention that you used a lot of online resources, and you used codebar. Was there anything else during that journey that you used to help you get that job?
I think like LinkedIn was a really good, I suppose, social media thing to kind of find out what's going on. I connected with a lot of people on there. Some people were able to kind of, give me connections with other people or kind of give me a bit of advice. I spoke to a couple of, I suppose, recruiters, but not for the roles. They weren't able to help me because I was such a junior, but just to give me kind of the confidence. But it was all just connections. Like that's the important thing. Whether they can provide something to you, it doesn't matter. It's kind of just making you feel a bit better to go, right, okay, there's people that are interested in what I have to say and things like that. So yeah.
And are you still in that first job now? Because that we're talking now, it's been over a year. So have you changed role since then, or are you still with that company?
No, so I did move on. It was unexpected because I think I reached out to, so my partner was moving to Worthing, and I don't know why, but I saw a role that was in Worthing, which I didn't have the qualifications for. So I reached out to the recruiter, who was absolutely lovely, and she put me up into she said, this role probably isn't going to be good for you, but I'll put you in touch with my colleague, who then gave me a call and got me an interview. Somehow was able to convince my current boss to give me an interview. And again, no code. Like I am so lucky in terms that I have not had to show any code in either of my interviews. And we just had a chat, and yeah, they were like, right, yeah, come on board, junior web developer. So now I do front end, whereas previously I was kind of more of a support software engineer, whereas now I'm actually doing websites and what I actually wanted to get into. Bit of a lucky streak.
That's so cool that you just kind of chanced your arm and did really
Yeah,
well out of it. Well done.
yeah, exactly. Like when I look back, I think that sounds like I'm so super lucky, but I haven't been lucky in life in general. But I think because my confidence was like, oh, I'm just going to do it. What's the point? What's the worst that can happen is kind of my mentality at the moment. And yeah, that's where I am now. So yeah,
I'm always saying that to people, you can always ask, the worst they're going to say is no.
exactly. Absolutely.
I would also say, you keep saying how lucky you are, but I think there is a huge element as well that people make their own luck. And I think you could have just sat there and not applied for those roles. And if they had just magically come to you, I would have said that's luck. But
Yeah.
actually they didn't. You put yourself out there, that's incredibly brave. So I am a believer that yes, people can be lucky, but also a huge element of it is that people make their own luck. And, a lot of what you're saying sounds that, like you've been very brave, you've worked incredibly hard. and that's why you are, where you are today. It isn't all just luck. It is you as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I need to accept that. And yes, thank you. Yeah, it is me. I did work hard to where I am,
Oh,
and
well,
I'm
I will
still
keep
working
drumming
hard.
it in.
Yeah, exactly. Need to get some of those cards to read in the morning, in the mirror going, yes, you're the best.
And how did you find the, applying for that second role? Was it just as scary as the first one, or did you find it a bit easier? Because I guess that second one you had a bit of industry experience, and that then makes it instantly, I guess, your CV is then a bit more, I don't know what the word I'm trying to use is, you've got that experience, I guess. So did you find it a bit easier?
Yes, I did. I think because I really didn't have any expectations of it. I had a tech job, so this would have been like a nice to have almost because, it would have helped me come over to sort of West Sussex and to be with my partner instead of having to do all this travel. But in some way, I was happy where I was. I wasn't doing what I wanted to do, but I was learning a lot. I was learning a lot about the industry as well as sort of the coding side of stuff. So I kind of went in, not with arrogance, but with kind of like let's see what happens. So, and luckily they liked me. Not luckily, they liked me, full stop. Yeah.
Yes, they did like you. And so, well, what does the future look like for Anna? Tech is changing. Is there something in tech you would like to look at next? Like, yeah, what does the future look like for Anna?
That's a good question, to be fair. I think I'm happy doing what I'm doing. So I go into the office and I code pretty much the whole day and I leave. And that is I'm happy doing that. Like I almost don't have any expectations to want to do anything else, if that makes sense. Like usually, ask me 5 years ago, and I've always been like, I want to grow in the company. I want to, become the manager. I want to have more responsibility. For the moment, I am quite happy going in and doing code, getting frustrated, wondering why it won't work, and then doing little rave hands when it does work, and then go home. And I think that's all I kind of want to look to do, to continue to do. I think I was kind of wondering what the future could be. I was thinking that this is the kind of question you would ask. And I think there's a fine line. I think a lot of times people, when you get into tech, say that you have to live and breathe tech. And I think that is, you do need to enjoy what you want to do. But I also think you need to remember to take breaks from it because it's very easy to want to you're constantly learning it. New stuff's coming out all the time. You'll never know everything. There'll be other people that know other things, but you need to remember that you need to take a break from it. So currently, when I come home, I don't do any coding. I'd like to start to build my portfolio properly. Maybe next year I'll spend some time doing that. But at the moment, I literally do it at work and that's it. And it's just so that I've got that balance because I don't want to fall out of love with it because it's constantly there. So, I love coding, but it ain't my be all. I'm glad I'm in this industry. I'm glad I've got this community, but I'm glad I've got my outside and my sort of time away from it as well.
I'm people who can't see me on the video, I'm like raising my like arms with happiness because I think that is so important. I think it is so easy to get consumed by tech. Tech is
Mhm.
forever changing. And I think it's just so refreshing and nice for someone to say, you know what, it is a job, and I love my job, but actually there are so many other elements to my life that I enjoy doing. And actually that's what I want to do outside work. So yeah, I'm here cheering, saying
Yeah.
just like, yes.
Yeah.
So before we let you go,
Mhm.
how can people find you online and connect with you?
So really LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn and yeah, that's it really, to be fair. As I say, I'm kind of personally, there isn't really anything of me online with my coding and my tech, but I'm hoping to start to get back into it. I have moved away from I took a break from Codebar Southampton, but I've got three fantastic organizers who are constantly pushing through, finding new venues, working really hard for it. Obviously I'd love to continue to go to Codebar Southampton, But I think I might start coaching at Codebar Brighton. I think that's my New Year's resolution, is to be a coach. And that scares the bejesus out of me, actually. So, you think you'll have the confidence to do it, but it is, it'll still be just probably as scary as me going as a student for the first time to a Codebar.
Well, I think you'll make a wonderful coach at Codebar. So
Thank
I can't wait to see it when you sign up to Codebar Brighton as a coach.
Yeah. Oh, now the pressure's on. Now I've got accountability. Damn it. Oh my gosh.
I also think you'll be a fantastic coach.
Oh, well, thank you so much for coming on this podcast today. It's been so lovely, speaking with you, hearing about your journey. And it's also, on a personal level, been so lovely seeing, you grow and develop over the, year and a half that I've known you. And I can't wait to see where you go next. So thank you so much.
Thank you so
Yes.
much for having me. Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you so much. It was a shock to hear you say, Phoebe, I know you, but yes, we
Yes.
actually do know each other. And I'm so pleased to hear that someone I know outside of Codebar is now benefiting from Codebar. It's so lovely to hear.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Thank you so much. If anyone wants to reach out, because my kind of journey is a little bit different in terms of boot camps and stuff like that, then find me on LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to give any advice or any, pointers or anything like that, or even just some encouragement. Absolutely. I think everyone needs that. And if someone's not sure who to go to, just come to me and I will help in some way.
Thank you so much.
That's okay.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Anna. Bye.